Production on the long-gestating sequel to World War Z has now been halted indefinitely, leaving audiences to wonder just how this huge Brad Pitt hit ended up getting stuck in studio limbo. Here are a few reasons why the world may never get to see World War Z 2. As the old adage goes, you've got to spend money to make money, but just try telling that to Paramount. The playlist reports that, though it wasn't exactly the only issue, the astronomical budget of World War Z 2 absolutely played a role in the film's demise. Considering the costs of special effects, shooting locations, and cast salaries, it's easy to see how the budget for a sequel of this magnitude could skyrocket. Reportedly, director David Fincher's team had been staffing up for a lengthy shoot, which was to take place across 5 different countries, as well as a 6-month stint in Atlanta. Even for a blockbuster project like this, that's a lot of travel for a production to endure. In comparison, Thor: The Dark World, the sequel to 2011's Thor, was almost entirely shot in Iceland and England, landing it with a budget of $170 million.
If it were easy, everyone would do it.
When you think about just how much World War Z 2 might have cost, it's no wonder Paramount got cold feet. Brad Pitt is arguably one of the most respected actors in Hollywood, so it should come as no surprise to find that he's typically in very high demand. Between 2004 and 2017, he starred in at least one film every year, while also doing a lot of work with his own production company, Plan B Entertainment.
Cousin businesses are booming.
Although Pitt has been a major supporter for a World War Z sequel, his busy schedule hasn't exactly made it easy on the film's production. For a good part of 2018, he was shooting Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and although filming has since wrapped, that's just one example of how Pitt's ever-changing agenda could make it difficult for Paramount to get anything solid on the books for World War Z 2. In 2018, Disney Pixar released the long-anticipated sequel for their 2004 hit, The Incredibles. It took the creative team an astounding 14 years to finally crank out a new story for the Parr family and their superhero antics, but it ultimately proved to be worth the wait. Although the long wait between the first and second film worked in that particular case, it should be considered the exception, not the rule. A sequel to World War Z would have made most sense if it was released 2 to 3 years after the original. By waiting so long, many fans' memories of the film have begun to fade, and with it, the anticipation of a follow-up. At one time, director J.A. Bayona was attached to the sequel, but Universal ended up luring him away to make Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom instead. At this point, it's been more than 5 years since World War Z hit theaters, and you have to wonder if that's simply too long of a gap for audiences to really care about what happened to Jerry Lane and his family. If you ask 3 friends what they thought of World War Z, you'll probably get 3 different answers. Although many of the critics' reviews were generally positive, the film only received a 66% on Rotten Tomatoes with a 72% audience score. While that's by no means a negative reaction, you have to assume that Paramount was hoping for better marks on a film whose budget ended up being around $200 million. Since reviews are relative, it's tricky to accurately pinpoint a film's popularity using that scale. Perhaps the best way to find a consensus is to hold it up against other films with similar budgets. For comparison, Titanic had a budget of $200 million and received an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes, while Peter Jackson's King Kong had a budget of $207 million and received an 84%. Avatar had a budget of $237 million and received an 82%. Considering that each of those films earned scores higher than 80%, you could make the case that World War Z didn't reach its highest critical potential. It's also entirely possible that, after years of false starts on production, this played a role in Paramount's decision to shut down production on World War Z 2. After J.A. Bayona left the project in 2017, Brad Pitt pushed for his longtime collaborator David Fincher to take the reins on World War Z 2. Together, the duo's impressive resume includes Seven, Fight Club, and The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Once it became official that Fincher was on board, all signs suggested that the film was finally gaining some traction. However, that was not to be the case. Uproxx reported that while waiting for Paramount to get their stuff together, Fincher went and oversaw 2 seasons of the Netflix show Mindhunter, some of which he directed personally. Although he hasn't directed a film since 2015's Gone Girl, Fincher has managed to stay busy as a producer too. And this isn't the first time he's been linked to a major project that never happened, as he was also attached to Disney's rumored 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea project in 2014. Since this has now happened twice to the same director, it makes you wonder if planning around Fincher's busy schedule was what made it difficult for World War Z 2 to get going. In October 2010, The Walking Dead premiered, pushing stories about the undead back into the pop culture spotlight. The zombie craze may have hit its apex in 2013, influencing video games like Call of Duty Black Ops and Red Dead Redemption, as well as several movies, including Warm Bodies and World War Z itself. Back then, everyone seemed more than happy to prepare for the zombie apocalypse.
Don't say that. What? That? What? That? The Z word. Don't say it. Why not? Because it's ridiculous.
But that was years ago, and times have changed. The once strong heartbeat of zombie popularity is now little more than a flat line, and it really does seem like zombie mania has long since peaked. Viewing figures for The Walking Dead are dwindling, while the 2018 zombie thriller Overlord brought in a measly $41.7 million at the box office, despite a positive critical reception. Who's to say that World War Z 2 wouldn't suffer a similar fate in such a zombie-hostile environment? Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite movies are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.